What's up guys, Jimmy here, and today I want to talk about the recent patch for Street Fighter 6, more specifically the changes for Ryu and how that affects his viability. So first, let's look at all the individual changes, and then at the end I can give you a summary and an estimation of where I think Ryu stands among the cast. There's one change in particular a lot of Ryu players seem to be very excited about, a lot of discussions, a lot of videos about this change, but I want to offer a different perspective. I think there are some major limitations to some of the changes that Ryu received, and I want to talk about it. So let's take a look at the changes, starting with the Overdrive Shoryuken. This move had an interesting issue before this recent patch. A couple of times this actually happened to me as well. If you land the first hit of the Overdrive Shoryuken, and you're too far away to land the second hit, the opponent will actually recover in time to punish you, even though you hit the initial attack. This is kind of frustrating, and it's good to see this fixed. Nowadays, if you do the same thing, no matter what, the opponent will receive a knockdown, so they cannot actually punish you, even if the follow-up attack does not connect. Next up, let's talk about the solo Plexus strike. This move is actually quite powerful for Ryu, and it's gotten even better now. So basically, as long as you start the move in range to hit the opponent, they cannot actually walk outside the range anymore. This was previously possible and was one of the reasons why it's quite risky to use this move, as you could easily get whiff punished. But nowadays, the opponent will actually get locked into a block position instead. So this is quite a welcome change and makes this move even better. Next up, we have minor changes to the Hadoken and Shinku Hadoken for Ryu. Initially, I thought this was a big deal. I was really hopeful this was gonna make it much less likely for the opponent to trade on a fireball, or like Ken players, for example, they like to EX or like OD Shoryuken through the fireball attempt on reaction. I thought it was gonna be much less likely to happen now, but in reality, I couldn't really notice a big difference. I'm sure there are going to be cases where this is not going to happen anymore. There's going to be more precision involved for the opponent, but it doesn't make that much of a difference. Last but not least, we have changes to the Hashogeki special move, and honestly, this is the biggest change for Ryu by far. All versions of this move have been changed, but I want to focus on the light and the Denjin version. Starting with the light, this move is significantly better because it's not punishable anymore. Previously it was -4 on block, so whenever you use that move and the opponent blocked, they could always punish with a jab. This is not possible anymore. Because of the improved frame data on block, this tool is much better for setups now as well. You can get it to be +2 as a melee attack, and combine that with a decreased knockback on block, it's a really threatening tool. The medium Hashogeki also got an interesting buff. If you land this move from really far away, it's going to be a little bit more consistent. Previously, there were combo routes that required you to do a very far crouching medium punch, and then from there, if you wanted to land a level 3 super, the only special move that you could really do is medium Hashogeki. If you were unlucky, this move could actually whiff. So nowadays, that's not going to happen anymore, which is nice to see. The heavy and overdrive version of this move received the same buffs as the light and the medium version, which is nice to see, but there's really nothing more to say about that. So now let's talk about the final change that Ryu received, the one that I teased earlier. I want to talk a little bit more in detail about, and that is the Denjin Charge Hashogeki. You can see a lot of new combo routes being discovered all the time at the moment, because this move deals 1000 damage instead of 600 previously. This is a nice damage buff, and there are some situations where you can use this one consistently, most notably the stun scenario, because you can always guarantee a Denjin charge after a stun. If you happen to have a Denjin charge when you're blocking an OD invincible move, for example, you can deal a ton of damage now, even if you're not in the corner. And these are the types of videos that I've been talking about. I've been seeing a lot of suggestions on how to combo, and it's great to check out all the combo routes that are theoretically possible, but I feel like there's not enough discussion about what you actually have to sacrifice to get there. You see, Capcom did not address the main concern that I personally have with the Denjin charge, and that is whenever you're Denjin charging, then you're sacrificing like a situation to get in, especially like when you get a knockdown scenario. You basically get to choose, do I go in and pressure the opponent, or do I stay away and Denjin charge? And after that, so you've already given up pressure because you wanted to Denjin charge. Fair enough, if the Denjin charge is worth it, then that's fine, right? But the more I think about it, the more I just don't see this specific buff come into play regularly. The moment you have the Denjin charge and you really want to take advantage of this new buff, you really can't afford to throw any fireballs anymore. You cannot, like, you're basically just trying to get a hard punch mid-screen to connect with your opponent. And if you're playing a smart opponent, like competitive players, they're not gonna fall for this. They know what your game plan is. They know what the most threatening thing that you have in mind, what it is. So your gameplay becomes locked all of a sudden. And this is only because Capcom does not allow Ryu to use his fireballs without spending the Denjin charge, and it's quite annoying. There are even situations where you're forced to use the Denjin charge even though you're just trying to do a heavy Hashogeki. After a perfect parry, Ryu's perfect combo route is usually the back fierce into a heavy Hashogeki. But now you have to waste the Denjin charge on this combo if you want to go for it. Or you just choose a different combo that is less effective just to maintain the Denjin charge. I really think there should be some way to just keep the Denjin charge and tell the game that you just want to have the regular version. Like maybe there's like a switch option where you can turn it on and off. I don't know how Capcom wants to do this, but I think this is really necessary if you want to make the Denjin charge a real threat. This way, the way it is right now, it's too limiting. But yeah, that's all I have to say on the Denjin charge. It is quite annoying to use at the moment, to be honest, and I really wish Capcom changes this. But let me know in the comments, what do you think? Is this good enough for Ryu? Is this fine for Ryu? Is this limitation on purpose so Ryu doesn't get completely out of hand? Let me know in the comments below. Personally, I don't think Ryu is that much better just with these changes. I think actually the most significant thing that happened to Ryu is the nerfs to the other characters. So overall, clearly Ryu is in a much better place, and I think he has a real shot at being like one of the upper tier characters. But most importantly, that's because JP got nerfed significantly. I think Luke got nerfed very significantly. Ken a little bit, but not by that much. Chun-Li, a problematic matchup for Ryu. She got an interesting nerf to her lightning legs, which might make a difference. I'll still have to check this out. The patch is quite fresh, and I actually don't think I've played a single Chun-Li since the patch. But we'll see about that. I think Ryu is in a good spot, but the changes, I think there's something missing, specifically with the Denjin charge, and I really hope once we see Akuma in the game and the big patch that is coming, Capcom has already confirmed that, I really hope there's going to be more for Ryu in store, specifically for the Denjin charge. But yeah, let me know what do you think in the comments below. Is Ryu a good character now? Are these changes good for Ryu? What do you think? Is he top tier now? Is he bottom tier? Any and all thoughts in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching, take care, and I'll see you guys soon.